G'day guys, JJ here and thanks for joining me for another video. Now today we're going to be going through my camera bag, looking at all the gear I use on a day-to-day basis as a wildlife and travel photographer and videographer. This is a video I've been keen to make for a while, so let's get stuck into it. Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I don't do traditional travel vlogs. A lot of the content I like to create is based around getting out to nature and involves a lot of wildlife as well. One of my bigger passions is wildlife photography and wildlife videography, which in a way can have nothing to do with travel whatsoever. And I've kind of tried to create my own niche by combining these two things together. And that has made a few interesting quirks in my camera bag, which I'm keen to share. Now, the first thing you're gonna need to carry all your gear around is, of course, a bag. Now, this bag I've had for at least 4 years now, I reckon. It could be even longer. It's Lower Pro brand and it is called the Flipside Trek. So this bag has served me very well for many years and I found it was a good combination as a camera bag, but also a bag that was rugged and tough enough to take out into the bush or out into the jungle. This bag has lots of different compartments to fit anything you could ever want inside. And the largest compartment is actually the one on the back, and that's where you slot in all your camera gear. There's little removable pieces so you can section things off, which is really useful. And being on the back, I guess that's a really good security feature because no one's gonna be able to open your bag without you knowing and get to that camera gear. It's pressed hard against your back. This will comfortably fit 2 lenses, a DSLR, my drone, and my GoPro. So I've never really had to worry about space. And it's pretty empty at the moment because I've got all this other gear out to show you, but I slot all sorts of things in here. And honestly, I'll find things that I put in there 12 months ago that I completely forgot about. I carry snake bandages everywhere because that's kind of a thing when you're out in the Australian bush. Because as well as being a camera bag, it's a good trekking backpack. I can fit stuff in here that will last me a couple of days camping. And in this top compartment here, you can fit all the clothes you need. There's heaps of buckles and straps. So you can attach clothes, water bottles, anything you need. I hang the tripod off the back here sometimes if I can't be bothered carrying it. It's got so much space. And yeah, it served me really faithfully over the years. Now, one question I get pretty regularly is what is my main camera that I use for shooting photo and video? And it's the one I'm shooting with right now, of course. It is the Nikon Z6 II mirrorless camera. Now, I've only had this camera for a little over 6 months. I actually did pre-order it and it was probably one of the biggest splurges I've made as far as spending money on camera gear. I don't buy the newest, shiniest toys whenever they come out. I honestly cannot afford that. Most of us can't. But for me to do that, it really has to be worth my while. This one just had features that I really wanted and I was really excited to use. Historically speaking, Nikon has kind of lagged behind Canon and Sony on the video front, and this camera has kind of really put them back in the game as far as things like full-time autofocus, staying focused on my face while I'm talking or while I'm vlogging, and it shoots in 120 frames per second. So that is like super slow motion, and especially when you're shooting wildlife, that can just be so useful. So many animals live in a world that's much faster than our own, so being able to slow them right down, break down those animal behaviors and view them in that way was a really big draw card when it came to purchasing this camera. And so far I'm over the moon with how this camera performs and fits in with my style. Feels good in my hands, I absolutely love it, and it was definitely a worthwhile purchase. Now, basically everything you've seen from 2020 and earlier was shot on either my old Nikon D7200 or D500 DSLRs, which were also phenomenal cameras. The Z6 II hasn't had the same workout as those ones have yet, but it's well on the way. I do have 3 main lenses that I use with this camera, and the one I'm shooting with at the moment is a 24 to 70mm f4 lens. It's a Z series lens. And when I first bought the camera, I did want to buy one of the Z series lenses that was specifically designed to communicate and work with this camera. Now, I can connect my old F series lenses to the Z6 II, but I needed to get this F to Z adapter. It was definitely a worthwhile investment as well. It was just a couple of $100 extra. It means I could use all the lenses that I already had. Now, this one here is a 17 to 50mm Sigma lens and it shoots at 2.8. So the main reason I use this is for that 2.8 if I want that really beautiful shallow depth of field. But I don't tend to use it too often for video anymore because I think it's called the focusing motor. I know how to use the cameras and the lenses, but I don't really know how they work. But anyway, when it's trying to autofocus, it's really clunky and noisy and mechanical. And if it's actually trying to autofocus while I'm filming, even on the Z6 II, you can literally hear it trying to focus, and you can't have that while you're filming video. So I only pull it out occasionally. It is a really nice lens, really good for photos. Again, you get that really shallow depth of field. I really like that one. And then my other lens, which I use quite regularly, and this one you may not find in a traditional travel vlogger's bag, but I mainly use this one for wildlife photography, is a 70 to 300mm lens. It's an AFP lens, which is designed to have a quiet autofocusing motor. And this one is my go-to when I'm shooting any wildlife, because at 300mm, you can shoot stuff that is super far away. It really has never failed me. There are times where I wish I had a 400, 500 or 600mm lens, but those things just get so massive and I don't think they would fit quite comfortably in this bag if I had all my other gear with me. I do have some ND filters for these lenses as well, a few different brands. I never really use them that much, but I think now that I'm doing a few more travel vlogs and the like, they definitely come in handy, especially if having to shoot in the middle of the day or in really bright environments. I do also use a shotgun microphone when recording with this camera. I use the Rode Video Mic Pro. So joke's on me, I didn't plug the Rode Video Mic into the camera properly before recording this video. Rookie error, hence the average sound quality. Sorry about that. I do have what they call a dead cat on it, which is really useful if you are in windy environments because it cuts down on that wind noise when you're talking to the camera, and I'll always have this on top when I'm vlogging. Now I do have a couple of tripods that I use, as well as a monopod. The monopod is really useful if you're in fairly crowded situations. So say I'm going to the zoo or something like that, and there may be crowds around some other animal exhibits. It's useful because it has quite a small footprint. I can keep it close to me. It's not going to take up too much room and people aren't going to trip over it or anything, but it's also really useful when it comes to getting stable shots. When you're shooting something at 300mm, every little shake that you make on the camera is going to be really, really obvious. It really helps to keep it as still as possible. And although I traditionally like to run and gun and just hand hold everything, sometimes it really pays off to get a nice shot. Both my monopod and tripod are Manfrotto brand. They're really, really good, really sturdy. These things are going to last me a million years. And I do have this little tripod, which I've been using more and more recently, especially for vlogging. It's called the Pro Master Hitchhiker. And yeah, again, it's like a sturdy little thing. You can extend it up slightly with longer legs like that. And the cool bit up the top here is this goes straight into the camera, the screw there, but you can also pop it up and pop your phone in there as well. And it takes nothing to go from phone to camera mode. So this has been really quite useful. I'll hold it out when vlogging sometimes, or if I'm just setting something up for a low angle shot. This is always in my bag, it takes up no room. Now next we have, oh no, it's backwards. Next we have the GoPro. I do keep my GoPro and even batteries and a few other things just in these sunglasses cases. I find them really useful for the GoPro to make sure it doesn't get scratched, and I don't know, just I've got heaps of them, so I use them. The GoPro is just such an incredible piece of kit, and they're really not that expensive. They're so versatile in how you can use them. The biggest downfall obviously is everything is a wide angle. So when it comes to shooting wildlife, I've got to be really close to the wildlife to get some cool shots. And I have actually made a video on that, how I've used the GoPro to get wildlife shots, but you've got to be pretty lucky and pretty well prepared to be able to do that. They're great for underwater stuff if you're swimming with dolphins or seals or anything, but the main thing I use my GoPro for is vlogging. When you are trying to shoot wildlife and you have that big 300mm lens on, you can't vlog with that. It's gonna be, you know, looking you right in the eye or up your nose. You can't hold it out and get a wide angle shot, obviously. But I can't constantly be swapping from a wide angle vlogging lens to a 300mm lens, because when it comes to filming wildlife, you need to be prepared. I can't see something and go, oh, that's cool, to try and change the lens, you know, it's just not gonna work. So if I'm filming or photographing something more wildlife specific, I'll have the telephoto lens on the main camera and I'll have the GoPro in my pocket, ready to go as far as vlogging, explaining what's going on, and you can literally fit these things in your pocket. They're tiny. And I love it. You know, the sound quality is surprisingly good, providing you don't have any interference from wind or anything. So the microphone picks up my voice really good. What I've got attached at the moment is this little yellow floaty, which is used for when I go out in the water. I have lost a GoPro. I think it was my first one, a Hero 3, at the bottom of a creek one time, and I was literally diving down to the bottom of this creek. It was murky. Using my hands trying to find this thing, because they sink like stones. You know, they don't float. And if you have this on, it's just gonna bob on the surface, which is really useful. I do have another little tripod here, which has a few purposes. You can just hold it like if you're vlogging, but there's actually, well, in this form it's not a tripod, but if you actually take this out, you can screw this bit in the bottom there, and you know, that makes it a tripod, so you can leave it somewhere, do a time lapse or anything like that. So I've just got a few little GoPro accessories that I have collected over the years. I don't use them all too often, but it is useful to have them there. You know, the head mounts, I've got one that I can stick onto glass, like a suction cup, a few different things, but man, I love GoPro. These guys just make the best little action cameras, and you can get so creative with how you use them. Now in this little box, I have my drone. This is the DJI Mavic Air. So this model is a couple of years old now, and I'll be honest, I don't use the drone as often as I should. They are such incredible little machines. Over the years, the restrictions and rules regarding flying drones have got stricter in a lot of places. And when I went on my big trip back in 2019, I decided not to take it with me because some countries I could have flown it, some countries you could have got jail time or massive fines if you did get caught flying it. So I actually left it at home during that trip, but I am trying to use it more and more because you can just get the most incredible perspective from the air. Since these drones became commercially available, you just see how much travel videos have improved. You can immerse yourself in the environment when you're capturing it from that bird's eye view. I don't use it at all when it comes to wildlife. These things are noisy, they are pretty invasive. I do get frustrated seeing people fly them near animals in certain situations. Even in the national parks and stuff, you gotta be really careful because the last thing you wanna do is impact on that environment and impact on those animals negatively. Some of them will absolutely freak out if they see a drone flying near them. Drones and wildlife do not mix, so please leave it to capturing those beautiful landscapes. Keep it away from wildlife. Now, the last camera I wanna show you is my newest one. It's my mobile phone. My last mobile phone, which I think was a Samsung Galaxy S7, stopped working very, very suddenly a couple of weeks ago. So I've upgraded. This one as the Galaxy S20 FE. And I love the cameras on this thing. They're absolutely incredible, both for video and photography. And it's so useful knowing that you have this in your pocket. If you're out of battery on your other camera, or it's just more convenient to slip your phone out of your pocket, really, really useful. And definitely don't disregard having your phone as a creative tool because you've always got it on you. And the cameras on them are really pretty spectacular. So that's it as far as cameras go, but I do have a few other bits of gear that never leave my camera bag. And this one here is probably one of the best things I've ever bought. This is a power bank. It's an Anker brand power bank I've had for about 3 years now, I think. And this thing keeps my gear charged. It charges absolutely everything. I charge the GoPro, I can charge the DSLR mirrorless camera batteries on this, I can charge my phone. And I think I can charge my phone about 6 times over on one of these. So I know I use this as an example a lot, but when I was out in Sumatra trekking for 5 days, there's no power points out there. You can't just plug into the closest tree and charge your gear. So I took this with me and I never ran out of battery. I think it's still at about half charge by the time we got out. It's got 2 USB ports, so you can actually charge 2 things at once. And I definitely recommend one of these, especially if you're out camping or in a more remote area where you won't have access to power. Definitely get yourself a decent power bank. Now, although I like Samsung phones, I do prefer using Macs when it comes to computers. And I've got 2 of them. I've got a MacBook, which is my laptop, and I do have an iMac. Now, I do the majority of my editing on my iMac. I've got a little office space, and that's where I'll probably do 90% of my editing for both photos and videos nowadays. Occasionally I will take my MacBook with me whilst traveling. I didn't mention before that my backpack actually has a slot where I can put the MacBook in. It fits in absolutely perfectly. So again, just another thing I can carry in that bag, really useful. The software I use to edit my photos is Adobe Lightroom, and I also have Lightroom on my phone, which is really useful. I can sync my camera up to my phone or the GoPro up to the phone and put photos straight on there and edit them there if I want to get them out straight away. But Lightroom is awesome. There's so many features that you can use to really amplify your photos and enhance your photos, getting them looking exactly how you like. And when it comes to editing video, I'll use Adobe Premiere Pro, a fantastic program that I've used basically from the beginning. No, I lie, I used iMovie first, but I very quickly outgrew that. And I've been using Premiere Pro for several years now. Really, really fantastic software when it comes to editing your movies. And guess what, guys? I think that just about covers it. And I think it's really cool to see what different creators use and how gear can sometimes amplify that creative process. But the most important thing, which I have learnt more and more over the years, I always thought I needed the best camera ever to get the best footage. That's certainly not the case. The cameras are just a small part of the puzzle. The creative thought that goes in before shooting, the post-production, all this sort of stuff combined together is what makes a fantastic movie or a spectacular photo. So it's not just having the most incredible gear, it's what's in here. It's what's in here that you've really got to appreciate. And if you've got a particular camera or piece of gear that you're proud of or that really enhances your creative process, let me know what it is down below in the comments. I'd really be keen to hear. If you've enjoyed the video, guys, be sure to subscribe, like, leave as many comments as you want. I'll answer every single one of them. Thanks for letting me ramble on, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.